Hello friends, welcome to a new video. Today we will be starting the chapter 23rd Database Management System. It is a bit different from the chapter we have seen earlier. So before that I would like you to subscribe to the channel if you are new here and give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends so that they also can use this. Okay, now let's jump into the topic. So today we are going to cover this database management system chapter, where we are going to learn what does it mean. It's completely a new concept to you, so let's know what it is. So it's a software program that allows the user to interact with the database in order to store, retrieve and manipulate the data. So that is database management system. So it's a software program that helps you doing all these things with data. You can store those data, so you can retrieve whenever necessary, and you can manipulate and do something on the data whenever required. Okay, so DBMS, it's a system. It serves as an interface between the database and the user. So before that you have to know what a database is and how does it help the user. And it also enables the user to create, modify and maintain the database, as well as control the access to the data. So what is a database? Before knowing database management system, we have to know what is a database. Database, it's used for storing your data. What is a data? Any information that you have with you. Like if I have information of some students' roll number, their name from in school, and in which classes they are studying. So these are the information with me and I can fill it up. Okay, roll number 10 and what is their name, can be any name and they belong to any of the class or grade, second grade. Okay, Shani. Another one, serial number 2, it is roll number 12. So the person is Praveen and this person belongs to 5th grade. So it's an information about some students. So these are the datas. Okay, these datas has to be stored somewhere, it is going to be stored in a database, and the system or the software that helps in managing these databases are known as database management systems. So now let's see what is the objective of this chapter. We have to define what a database is, and we have to design some databases, and we are going to learn about MySQL, what it is. It's a software that uses SQL languages and what SQL means, and we have to know how to write and execute SQL commands. So SQL commands, we call it as queries. Like your C program, you were writing C++ and you were writing programs. Some set of codes you were writing, it was a program. So same way, when you write some commands in this language, SQL language, we call them as queries. They are not some 10 lines of code, they are just 1 or 2 or 3 lines of code where you will be writing a command and you will be getting an output. It's completely different from this C++ language. It is not nowhere similar, and these SQL statements are somewhat similar to your English language. So it will be much easier for you rather than to know and learn about some code words, and it will be understandable. Okay, so next, before learning all these queries and everything, we have to know some terminology. That means we have to know what are the terms used for terms going to be used in this chapter. So let's see them. So the first thing that we are going to learn in this terminology is database. So database is an organized collection of data. So just now I have drawn a table and shown you how the data are used. So when you arrange them in different tables, you call the collection as a database. From daily life, we can say a telephone directory can be an example of database. Index of a book can be example of database. It has so much of information. Then comes your directory, telephone directory, then ads in a newspaper. Okay, all these can be collection of databases, you can say. Then a register, if you take, you have data of the students in the class, or if you take the directory of school, you have different information or the records of the information. If you take an office example, you have so many employees working there, their details are available with you. So these all comes under database. If you take a railway reservation example, you have the details of the passengers, those who are going to travel, and the details of the train that will be running through as a route, a specific route. Okay, these all comes under your database. So when the data is organized, we call it as a database, mostly in the form of a table. Databases have problems when done manually. So manually, if we try to manage them, it will be difficult for us to maintain them. Then comes the term redundancy. Redundancy, if you see, the word means having duplication, or you have a repetition of data. Repetition is also known as redundancy. That means you have again and again the similar data are being inserted in your database. So that's not a proper way of your database. So that creates a kind of multiple information which leads to inconsistency. Inconsistency means which are not proper, the data are not properly managed. So if you have the two students in a class with for example, if I have a table and here roll number is there and the student's name is there, roll number 1 ABC, roll number 2 EFG, then again if roll number 1's data is given here, it will be ABC. So here comes the repetition. Okay, we call it as redundancy, and this creates kind of inconsistency. That means the data cannot be used properly. So when you use this information for some purpose, two times the data or this row will be displayed in front of you. That means the ABC student data will be shown to you two times, which is not a proper way of getting an information. So that is what inconsistency means. Next is loss of integrity. So the integrity is overall correctness, accuracy, and consistency of your data. If the data is not properly maintained, it will give you an invalid data which is not useful for the user, and it may lead to something mistakes, and it will not be accurate data in front of the user. So that is what loss of integrity means. Then comes data security. When data are not safe, anybody who is not related to this management of data can alter it, change it anytime. They can update it. For example, if I have a table like this 1 and 2 3, the person is ZYX. Okay, so anybody who is not related to the school, they are coming and they are just trying to change the students' details. So that is a kind of insecure data. Data is not secured so that anybody can come and change the information available. Okay, so computerized databases provide centralized control of its operational data. That means when this used to happen in a record form or manual form, this kind of problems were found. So next, when computerized databases are used, many a time this redundancy is controlled, inconsistency is controlled, data's integrity is maintained, then data can be shared in its way, and security restrictions also can be applied on the data. That means somebody who is not related to the school cannot change anything to the table or the database. So that's a kind of security imposed on the table. Okay, now next comes, already we have seen what is DBMS. That DBMS is a software that allows us to manage the computerized database or the database we have. Any database managed by the system is known as database management system. Next comes relational database management system. That means RDBMS. R stands for relational database. That means the database which is always in the form of relation. The term relation means you have row and column. Okay, you have data in the form of a table where you are having these rows and you have got these columns. So I have two columns here, 1 and 2. See here, this is first column number 1 with roll number and column number 2 name. Okay, so this is first row where I have 1 and name is Sheena. Roll number 2 Subi. Okay, so 2 people are there in the list. A for 3A, it's Anju. So you have got 3 rows here, 3 rows and 2 columns. So whenever data is shown in the form of this table format, you call that type of data as relational database. That type of database is known as relational database, which was introduced by Mr. E.F. Codd. So you have to remember this. Relational database management system was introduced by E.F. Codd. It's a very important question. Next comes relational database, and as I told you, relational. So this table, when it comes to relational database management system, we call the table as relation. The rows we name it as tuples, and column we call it as attributes. These are the 3 terms we have to take care in relational database management system. That means always table is referred to as relation, row as tuple or tuple, some people say it's tuple, column, if you refer to column, we call it as attributes. So we don't use the word column in our DBMS, we call it as attribute. Okay, so these are the terms that you have to use in a relational database. Next, if you see this example, this is column number 1, column number 2, column number 3. C1, C2, C3. So we call all these are attributes of our table. This is row number 1, or we call it as tuple. So this is row 1 and this is row 2. First row have the information Abhishek, for telephone number and the address of this Abhishek. That is row 1. Second row is Puneet, his telephone number and his address. Okay, so these are the terms that are being used. Okay, the relational database should look like this. Next comes schema. Schema means the organization of data or the skeleton. That means how your entire database looks like. That is known as schema of the database. Okay, next is entity. It refers to any of the person or object that is known as entity. So in a library, an entity can be a book member, a book supplier. These all terms can be referred to as an entity in case of a library. When it comes to school, a student, teacher or a course can be entities. Okay, so that is the meaning of entity. So we will come to know later in the chapter what this entity means. Okay, we have got ER model diagrams where these entities are explained much more better, in a better way. Next is relation. As I told you, relation means it refers to the table, which is collection of data of same kind of entities in a database. Okay, database contains one or more relation. That means you have a database. It not so. It's not necessary that a database should have only one table. You can have multiple tables in a database. So this is table number 1, table number 2, table number 3 in a single database. So we have to name this database, and then different tables will be created inside and they will be connected to each other. We have queries for them. We have the commands for them. Okay. Next one is tuple, row or record. All means the same thing, but the word tuple is to be used in a relational model. You don't have to change the name. Usually it means it is a row in a table. Okay, then comes number of tuple or number of Rows also known as cardinality. The word cardinality of a relation, if you refer to cardinality of a relation, number of tuples in a relation is known as cardinality of the relation. Next term is attribute. Attribute is any column. The word attribute in a relation model is known as column. The number of attributes in the relation is called degree. So if it is asked what is the degree of a relation, we can say how many attributes are there, that is the degree. Okay. Next is domain. Domain is a pool of value or a set of values from which the column have its value or its actual value. For example, roll number can be any integers from 1 to 50. So if 50 students are there, 1 to 50 will be the roll number, okay, of the students available. Next one is key. Key is to uniquely identify or identifying a row. The way the row is being identified, it can be combinations of key, or a single column can be a key as well. So when it comes to primary key, different keys are available. When it comes to primary key is used to uniquely identify a particular row. A tuple is known by a primary key. So if you take a student's table, admission number can be primary key, because admission number of all the students will be different. It will not be same, and repetition won't be there. So an ambiguity or a confusion won't be there anywhere. A table cannot have more than one primary key. For one table, you have one primary key. More than that is not possible. That is a rule to be followed for a primary key. Next comes candidate key. Candidate key is combination of fields that can be used as a primary key. If you take class of a student, section of a student, and a roll number, three together makes up a candidate key. For example, roll number will be there, the same roll number will be there in different classes. So if you take 2A, 2B, 2C, this roll number 1 to some number will be there, 40, 1 to 45 or 50, 1 to 40, something like this. So this roll numbers will be there in every class. If ABC we take, that doesn't make up a key or an identification. So if you take the class, you take the division, and if you take the roll number all together, 3 will be making it as candidate key. Sometimes we don't have a primary key to identify in a relation. Next is alternate key. What is the meaning of alternate key? Is a table may have multiple candidate keys. So you can make combinations where multiple candidate keys are available. Okay, so when one of the key becomes the primary key, the other keys are known as alternate key. So if that combination, one is taken as a primary key, the other will be known as alternate keys. Okay, foreign key is group of one or more column in a table which is used to set relationship of that table with some other table. For example, if you have in your table, you have department, and you have got department 1, 2, 3, and for example, you have department electronics, computer science, and you have mechanic. So 3 departments are there. These can be primary key 1, 2, 3. This number of the department can be, serial number of the department can be the primary key. So when I use it in a separate table of students table is there. So in that, the student's roll number is there, the student name is there, and the student's department is there. Okay, so department, if I take the student 1 roll number, student 2, student A, student B, student C. So they belong to different departments. So if I say department 1, the second person belongs to again department 1, third person belongs to department 3. So these keys are used here, which was a primary key in some other table. So we call them as foreign key. This type of columns which were a primary key in some other table, that is known as primary key, and they are connected. Both the tables are connected. If they are connected, then only we can use it as a foreign key in the other table. Okay, next is Cartesian product of two tables. That means you have table 1 with you and table 2 with you. So when you have both the tables available with you, you take or you make a new table which is combination of T1 and T2. That Cartesian product table you will be getting. Okay, so which has to satisfy some result of the queries. Okay, next one comes normalization. So till now what you have seen are the terms to be used in a database, and these terms are new to you, so you may feel it difficult, but these terms are generally used in database. Next term is normalization. So what is normalization? It is a process of analyzing the data to be represented and breaking down into separate tables. Okay, so you have already some table like this. So after so much of input, or you enter so many data in the rows, after a certain point of time, the inserting and retrieving data becomes difficult. So in that case, you have to normalize the table in such a way that these anomalies are not there. Like you can easily update, delete, and insert the data. If so many of duplicate data are there, all these things, this step is known as normalizing the table. Okay, so why we do it is and for giving a proper structure to the data, and for simple retrieval of the data, as well as updating, deleting, inserting, all these anomalies should be removed, and it should be a proper table with all the information, no duplication, nothing like that. So a proper table you will get where all these operations become very easy. Okay, so by this the database terminology topic is done. Thank you for watching, and again I say please do subscribe to the channel so that you get the latest notification.